Hey everybody, thank you for tuning back in to the bonus episode, which is part 2 of the Exorcism of Roland Doe. Without further ado, here we go. There are some groups that believe that teenagers who are going through puberty can cause the appearance of a poltergeist. They believe the energy, like, raging hormones, mood swings, sexual frustration, can cause a poltergeist to manifest. Roland was 13 or 14 at this time. So he would be a prime candidate for a poltergeist. Unsure of what else to do, Roland's mom called in Luther Miles Scholes, their Lutheran minister. I've seen articles state that Scholes was skeptical, but he actually was very curious about parapsychology.
Yep. Typical, right?
A pastor wants a young boy to come stay at his house. Yes.
I thought we were going to stay away from those jokes as long as possible.
I have it written in my note. Pause for Adam's reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I legitimately thought we were going to wait a little bit, but yeah.
I'm not going to.
I am a little, I guess in my mind, I'm a little sus of the priest, or it's actually a pastor, I think, if he's Lutheran.
Pastor, yeah.
So you have your Lutheran pastor is interested in this stuff already.
Or curious about it.
Yep. So it's not like a guy being like, oh, I don't know that much, like, let me do some research. It's kind of like, ooh, I've kind of been interested in this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sus of that, of like the building blocks. It's, it's like you need somebody to like juice the situation a little.
So it's funny that you say that, because there was actually somebody close to him said that he kind of exaggerated what he saw.
Who? The pastor? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So I know you're probably thinking the same thing that I am. A man of the cloth is asking you to send your 13-year-old son to his place for a sleepover. Nowadays, this would signal all the red flags. But back when this was happening, the rampant sexual abuse from priests and pastors was still pretty well hidden under the rug. I should mention Scholes was married and his wife was home at the time, sleeping in another room while Roland and Scholes slept in a shared room.
Okay.
I know that...
Yeah, they don't really have video cameras, really, right? It's not like you can videotape it.
I know that in order to observe him, they would need to be in the same room, but it feels gross to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I digress.
It's like, so we have the trauma of the aunt dying, and now we have a slightly odd pastor, religious person, now wanting you to stay over so they can observe and insisting they be in the same room. I'm just saying.
Nope, I'm 100%
I'm just saying,
with you.
You have trauma, and I'm just saying now you're possibly
being taken advantage of.
And potentially more trauma, right?
Yep.
Like if... Not accusing this guy.
Oh, no.
But if stuff did go down, this just adds to the kid's problems.
Yep. During this sleepover, Scholes witnessed the bed Robbie was sleeping on rock back and forth. Thinking that Roland was doing this, he asked him to move to a chair to sleep on. And this was an extremely heavy chair that was then slid across the room and tipped over on its side, throwing Roland onto the floor in the process. Scholes knew that he himself couldn't move that chair, so he knew for sure that Roland could not A, move it or tip it over. And it was at this point that
being in the chair, I'm just like, how'd the chair get in the room in the first place if you can't move it? So having just moved a bunch of stuff,
yeah, it was a 2-person job.
Yeah.
So it was at this point that he told Roland's family that they needed to seek out a Catholic priest.
Yeah. Because he's like, we're Lutheran. We don't believe in this stuff.
Well, Lutherans do, though. But not
like, we don't have people trained.
This is above our pay grade, so you're going to have to go up to the next floor.
I don't call it the Lutheran exorcism hotline. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There is an exorcism hotline for Catholics.
Yeah.
I saw it, yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I think anybody can call, but...
Yeah, but I'm saying
it's through the Catholic Church.
Yeah. I'm saying they have systems in place. The Lutherans don't. Yeah, it's right.
They're more equipped.
Yeah.
So
They've been around longer.
Yeah.
More established.
Roland's parents are desperate for answers at this point. So they actually turn to the St. James Catholic Church and Father Edward Albert Hughes. Father Hughes met with the family and requested permission and received it from the Catholic Church to perform an exorcism on Roland. He arranged...
So the local priest?
The local priest. This is a local priest.
Okay.
Father Hughes arranged to perform the exorcism at Georgetown University Hospital in Washington, D.C. Most sources I saw stated that Father Hughes may have been a bit out of his element trying to perform this exorcism.
Okay. I guess... So many questions about this whole scenario. Do you have more details to give? And then I'll
more details, and then we can talk about it.
Okay.
So most of the sources I saw reported that Roland was restrained because Hughes believed that he was capable of violence in his current state. And it looks like Hughes was right, because very shortly into the start of the rite, Roland broke loose from his restraints, pulled a mattress spring free, and slashed Father Hughes in the arm and shoulder. I've seen one or two sites that say that didn't actually happen, but most articles do say that this happened, and Hughes required over 100 stitches. At this point, Father Hughes is out, and I can't blame him. He shouldn't have been trying to do it in the first place.
Well, yeah, so he's the local guy, right?
He is still a Catholic priest.
Still a Catholic priest, but I'm sorry. I'm of the belief that like the average Catholic priest isn't versed in exorcisms.
Isn't a trained exorcist.
Yeah.
And that is the thing. So they do have Catholic priests that are trained as exorcists.
Yeah.
But you're 100% correct. Not any Catholic priest is like trained or knowledgeable or allowed to do that. So it seems a little weird to me that the church allowed him to do that, because he wasn't trained. It doesn't sound like he wasn't a trained exorcist.
Yeah, it's like, did he have a history? Is this his first time? You know, is this like...
I couldn't really find. All I found was that like he wasn't the right man for the job.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm thinking is like, they're like, well, we'll give up the local guy, and if he has trouble, then we'll know it's something, you know?
Or like, maybe the family really isn't that bad off, and he can just whip it out, we'll be done.
Yeah, it's so many questions.
Yeah.
So, one of the first ones is Georgetown Hospital. Okay, so you said it's Maryland. He didn't do it at the church. They went to a hospital. Mm-hmm. Is this because he wanted to have him restrained for the thing, and like maybe like the local hospital is the only place with like, you know, like beds with straps and stuff? I guess this is like...
You know, I don't really know why they decided to do it there. Maybe they didn't allow him to do it at the church. Like maybe they didn't have the necessary equipment at the church. I don't know. I'm assuming because they wanted him restrained, it was the best place to do it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Does it look bad if you... I mean, it looks bad if you... You already spent the night at one guy's house. Now you want to strap him down at like the church or someplace, you know, the church owns, you know, and yeah, something like this happens. I mean, I think it's very fortuitous if he needed 100 stitches and he happened to be at a hospital.
Fair.
Like, again, this is all like poor EA.
Yeah. And again,
poor
a
Father
lot of
Hughes,
this is like multiple sources report different things. So everything you're hearing, you got to take with a grain of salt, because we can't confirm anything.
Well, that's what I'm saying is like, if you're holding it at a hospital, like that's such a public place. Or is Georgetown Georgetown a Catholic hospital?
I think Georgetown might be a Catholic hospital.
Okay. That makes sense then.
I will tell you that
more sense.
A majority of the exorcisms are taking place at different hospitals.
Okay.
And I know the other one is a Catholic hospital run by Jesuit priests that are...
Well, yeah, I think that's the piece I'm maybe forgetting. For a long time, I think a lot of hospitals were run by the church.
Yeah. Agreed.
Or like, you know, as a way to minister to people and stuff. So.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. It makes more sense, you know.
I think you're right.
I guess I never thought of...
it was a Catholic-run hospital.
If you would have told me it was Notre Dame Hospital...
You would have known.
I would have been like, boom, got it. But Georgetown...
Yeah.
Georgetown, I guess I'm not aware of that. I know they got a bulldog for a mascot or something like that, you know.
Okay. So...
Back to the story at hand. Sorry for the tangents.
It's okay. I'll cut them out.
Father Hughes...
Okay.
Out of his element.
Yep, not ready for that challenge.
Okay.
Roland is sent home from the hospital, but the strange occurrences continued, and his troubling behaviors also continued. Everything came to a head when just a few days after being released, the word Louis was scratched onto Roland's skin. Now, his family took this as a sign to go to St. Louis, which they had family there. It's reported that his dad's brother was there, and also his Aunt Tilly had been from St. Louis.
Okay. Again, still, is just the aunt haunting this poor kid?
Yeah. There was, I think it was the shock docs, said that the mom at one point had asked Tilly, if that's you, knock 3 times, and they got 3 knocks.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But I only saw that on that show, so I'm not 100% sure. But again,
and that could just be the kid knocking, too. I mean,
why would his aunt, who he was very close to, try to torment him? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Maybe if he murdered her.
She was in a different state, but okay.
Okay.
It was here in St. Louis that Roland was put into contact with Father William Bowdern. Now, Bowdern was contacted by Raymond Bishop, a professor or student, depending on what you read, at St. Louis University, who was contacted by Roland's cousin, who was also attending St. Louis University.
Okay.
At the time. She had talked to Bishop about the situation with her cousin, and he got in contact with Bowdern, who then contacted the family.
Okay. So it sounds like Bowdern is maybe the more exorcist specialist?
Not really, but he's the one that gets tapped for this.
Okay.
So I should mention that the family in St. Louis were practicing Catholics, and St. Louis University is a Catholic Jesuit-based school.
Okay.
Bowdern met with and evaluated Roland, determining that he was in need of an exorcism. However, Bowdern himself didn't want to perform the rites, but the Archbishop at the time assigned the case to Bowdern, and 2 other priests were assigned to help Bowdern, Walter Halloran and William Van Broo. Now, there was a team of priests throughout this entire thing. There was 9, I think I saw was the commonly used number, but these are like the main guys.
Okay. Top 3.
Top 3.
Top 3 of 9, yeah.
So at this time, the team of priests who are going to be performing these exorcisms are preparing to get started. Like we talked about earlier, there's a process that the priests must go through in order to perform an exorcism. Besides the proper approvals, the priests have to prepare for the psychological and sometimes physical battle they're about to face. This includes lots of prayers, reading of scripture. I mean, there's a instruction manual on the rites of exorcism.
Yeah, because that's how faith works.
Yeah! Preparing yourself mentally, like getting as close to God as possible to help get you through the process, right?
Yeah.
And that's what it...
I can see why the higher ups in the church would be like, here's what you're going to want to do.
Yep.
But it almost sounds like, here's how you do this.
Mm-hmm.
Like instead of guidelines, like things, good, best practices, it sounds more like they were given this as like the instruction manual on how to do it.
It's like an IKEA instruction manual.
Yeah, exactly. Takes about 9.
And these priests were in for the long haul, since the process of exorcising Roland took months to complete.
Took months to complete? Like they found... Oh, okay, sorry. I don't want to jump ahead. But...
No, it took months for him to be relieved.
Yeah, so they tried multiple times?
We're going to talk about it.
Okay.
I saw some sources state that Bowdern didn't know much about exorcism and was hesitant to be the one to perform the rites. Some articles even stated that when requesting the exorcism, Bowdern asked for somebody else to perform it.
Yeah.
But we know, obviously, Bowdern was the one. So he was one of the priests that performed this exorcism.
Yeah. They're not listening to what the guy's telling them.
Nope.
It's like, I don't feel comfortable. Do it anyway.
Yeah.
It's like recipe for bad,
Yeah. The higher priest insisted that the entire process had to be performed with the utmost secrecy in order to protect Roland. Obviously they gave him a fake name. But Bowdern supposedly instructed Father Bishop, one of the other priests, to keep a detailed diary of the events. The existence of the diary wasn't known by the public until years later. I've also seen varying reports on where it was discovered, but we'll touch back on it a little later.
Okay.
But I just wanted to mention the diary because some of the information I have going forth is actually from that diary.
Okay. Little diary teaser.
Yep. So I want to point out that Roland wasn't in a constant state of what we would consider possession. Most of the articles stated that he was his normal self during the day, but at night was when all of the crazy stuff started happening. Yeah. There were times during the day that he would show some signs of being possessed, but it wasn't like he was levitating and speaking in Latin all day, every day for 3 months straight.
Yeah. Demons got to take a break.
That's right. They got to take a nap. I understand that fully. Because I want to take a nap right now.
Hey, we don't have to push ourselves.
I know. But when he would enter one of these trance-like states, they were extremely intense. The priest reported witnessing many of the same occurrences that Roland's family had reported, like scratching on the walls, the sounds of marching, furniture moving on its own accord, the scratches and lacerations on his skin. One or a few sites said that the word hell was actually scratched onto his chest by unseen hands. Roland would start singing songs like Old Man River. Random, I know. In an unsettling, high-pitched tone.
Okay.
While reciting the prayers, Roland writhed and convulsed, strained against the priests that were holding him down. He recoiled at the sight of religious items, spit and cursed at the priests, and reportedly he broke Halloran's nose when he punched him.
Okay.
So...
yeah, this
kid is going through something. Religious or not, he's obviously having some type of episode.
Well, yeah, it's interesting that, like, a completely different group of people are seeing, I was very sus of the Lutheran pastor who's already into this stuff, right?
They're confirming
and now you have...
yeah, they're kind of confirming what his family was... They were also seeing the same things that the family was saying they saw.
Yeah.
That's not always the case, but in this case, it sounds like it was.
Yeah, and I feel like some of that stuff can't be explained away rationally, right? Like, this is why it's supernatural. This is why they probably believed it was demon possession, is like,
Yep.
It's like, you can't just make yourself suddenly, like, scratch words into yourself, right?
Right, and they were saying during all of this, like, they witnessed his hands. They knew that he couldn't have done it to himself.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're 100% correct. They can't... Some of these things just cannot be rationally explained.
I mean, the skeptic answer is like, yeah, he's doing it when they can't see it, and then they're seeing it and being like, oh, that just showed up, or they're in on it and they're doing it to him.
Yep.
But that's where, like, if the family already saw stuff, you know what, they're gonna believe that this is happening. It's not like,
or it's like group hysteria, right? Like one person sees something and then the other person like thinks they saw it too. Like that happens. So, but for a whole group of people, like in separate states, basically, to see it is a little bit more of a confirmation in my mind.
Yeah, and you've jumped from the Lutherans to the Catholics. You've got different groups of the Catholic. You know what I mean? It's that's where it starts to feel more real. Like
the skepticism less easy to brush off.
less easy to brush off. It's like everybody's in on it. This poor kid's just being abused by all these people saying the same thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, according to the found diary, there was one night where the family thought the exorcism had worked and Roland was freed. The priest had been praying, performing the rites for over 9 hours when suddenly Roland looked like he was going to be sick and motioned to open the window. They threw open the windows and he stated, he's going, there he goes. Roland then fell asleep and the priest left for the evening, believing that Roland had been freed from whatever demon had been possessing him.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case. And a few hours later, Roland felt strange sensations and screamed, he's coming back, in a terrified voice, according to an excerpt from the diary. The priest returned and realized that this brief moment of relief had been just that. They hadn't freed Roland from anything, and this poor kid was still suffering from whatever had been plaguing him for weeks at this point.
Yeah. So, let me jump in with, like, this is where, like, they are expecting... or at least you do an exorcism, you're expecting the demon to be purged, let's call it that, right? And it's like, it matches up with like the biblical stories of Jesus casting out the demons. Like, person has all these problems, Jesus casts out the demons, now they're fine, they're like a completely different person practically, right?
Yep.
Like, it lines up that, like, they would think that, okay, it's leaving,
For sure.
But I would have stayed. I would have left somebody to stay the night. I guess it's
so they
like
stayed a little while, but then he
Yeah.
fell asleep. So and you have to remember too, like these priests are exhausted. They've been doing this for weeks, and they're exhausted, like mentally, physically. They've been,
So what? The family heard he's coming back. He's coming. I guess I'm
not gonna have to assume it was his family.
Yeah, and they're writing it down in the diary as like a report.
So they were not writing the diary. The pastor, the bishop was.
Okay.
So I'm not 100% sure. I'm sure they feel defeated at this point. Like, this has been going on for too long. Like, you don't want you don't want to see your kid going through this. So with the increased intensity and the family being absolutely terrified of what was happening, they decided to continue the exorcisms elsewhere. Because you remember, they're staying at a family member's house. So a lot of the things I saw said it was the dad's brother, so Roland's uncle on his dad's side.
Wait, they're doing the exorcisms there? They're not doing it at like a hospital or the church again?
No, they're at the family's house.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is kind of the movie where they're at the house.
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe they thought maybe a change in scenery would help free Roland from his invisible captors.
Yeah. Apparently they should have left that night after he went out the window. Should have been like, all right, time to move, like now.
Yeah.
So he doesn't come back to this place.
If that was my family, I'd be like, I'll find you a place, but I don't want to hear.
Well, yeah.
Because it's scary, but...
It's like, sweet, you left. Now that demon's going to come back expecting you here. And
it's got to find some host.
Else, right? Yeah.
So, in March of 1949, Roland was admitted to the psychiatric wing of the Alexian Brothers Hospital in St. Louis in preparation for the next round of exorcisms. It is widely reported that this specific hospital was chosen due to its reputation for secrecy. It was rumored that this establishment was also a treatment center for alcoholic priests, so, And if we know anything, Catholic higher-ups are really good at keeping secrets.
I feel like they're really bad at like appropriately managing things sometimes. That's what I really think.
But it's keeping a secret.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not trying to knock Catholicism, but if a religion feels the need for constant secrecy, it feels a little sus to me.
Yeah.
Should be an open book or Bible. If you need to hide what you're doing, maybe you shouldn't be doing it. That's just my thought.
Yeah.
So Roland would stay at this hospital and continue to undergo night after night of exorcisms. He was basically taking the rites of exorcism daily, and it was rough.
I still can. I'm sorry. Taking that rite of exorcism daily. You're gonna need some humor, right?
So this was like a really rough process. I mean, not only on Roland, but also the priests that were performing the rites.
Yeah, it sounds terrible for them.
Yeah.
Like, every night doing this thing. Mm-hmm. The one dude didn't even want to do it.
Nope, but he got suckered in.
Yeah.
He got voluntold.
Probably, yeah, he did get voluntold. And to be fair, it might be a reason why it's not working so well. Like, I mean, this is what I'm saying about the mismanagement of this. Is like, at what point do you, the system, be like, I think we'll give it another month. You know what I mean?
Let's regroup in a week and see how we're feeling about everything.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, how about we give it a week, Mm-hmm. Nope. All right, how about another week? Nope.
How about one more?
How about two more? Call it a month.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that. This is where it's just like, this is where, in my mind, the skeptical part of me is like, how much money are they taking these people for? Right? I'm sorry. That's where the skeptic of me is like, why so long? Why not make a change? If it's not working right, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry. The movie, I think, made it seem like it was like 2 nights, 3 max. Yeah. Right? Months and months of exorcism by the same frickin'...
So let me tell you, there is this...
It frustrates me.
In reading all of this,
yeah,
there are people that have to go through this for years. Like, whatever it is, I don't know if they're seeing different ones, but they're saying, like, an average exorcism is months or years to complete.
Then your system isn't working. I'm sorry.
I'm not disagreeing with you on that.
I'm just saying, if it takes months and years...
Yeah.
That's a failure. That's a failure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't read in the Bible where Jesus was like, hold on, give me a month with this guy. I'm sorry. That's what I'm saying. That's where the belief stuff, where I'm coming from.
Yeah, no.
It's like, that's blowing my mind more than, like, do I believe in demons or not? Like, it's the fact that these people took frickin' months and nobody thought, like, hey, maybe something should change, I bet the higher up management is like, bet these priests aren't praying hard enough. You know what I mean? Like,
I know.
But then they're probably also like, well, I'm not going to do it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's like...
Ain't going to touch that.
Yeah.
Unless it's a... Never mind.
I'm just sorry. Like, the idea being, you're so right with Jesus that you can, like, cast out demons. It's taken them a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's weird. I agree with you. Like, if it's taking years to get rid of a demon, like, maybe... escalate it to the next level up your priest,
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
I put it out there because I wanted people to know that, like, this is not uncommon. This is not an uncommon length of time to perform an exorcism, from what I read in my, in my study of this case.
Okay.
So back to...
Again, I'm still, my mind is blown. This may be hard for me to get over.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm going to get you a notepad so you can write down questions that we can address at the end.
I know, but it's
okay.
This is going to bother me. This is going to bother me.
Okay.
For so long. Because I'm like, you have a guy who didn't want to do it. Mm-hmm. Just let me get it out. You had a guy who didn't want to do it in the first place. Mm-hmm. You make him do it. Mm-hmm. You have a team of 9. Mm-hmm. I mean, is it like he didn't want to be the lead guy? Did he not want to be on the team? I know you probably can't answer these questions, but, like, these are the things that bother me. And then when it doesn't go well, unless they straight up told the guy, like, oh yeah, like, you're probably going to be doing this for months and it's going to be terrible. And you're like, that'll convince him to do it.
I think that's the expectation when it comes to that, because, again, like I said, this is not uncommon. Like, this is how long exorcisms take. So I think in their mind, the higher up's mind, it's like, yeah, that's business as usual. Like, it's not an overnight process. Like,
yeah, I think of all the bad ways it goes. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, your priests are probably losing faith. That, like, they don't believe in Jesus enough.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I'm more worried that, like, these exorcisms don't actually result, and these priests kill these people as a way to make it go away. Like, and be oh, the demon got him. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry. This is what is really tripping me up about this. Is like, it's,
well, let me tell you.
So what?
That is not a far off thought. There is another case that is on my list to do.
Okay.
It's the possession of Annalise Michel.
Okay.
Or Michael, however you want to say it.
Okay.
Who did die as a result of going through exorcisms.
Right.
So you're not far off on that. I'm going to get back to the story because you could go on forever about this, because you are 100% correct in the questions that you're asking.
Okay.
Because they're also questions. I've been working on this for weeks. I've also had a lot of these same questions, like, what the fuck were they doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I think our listeners are going to be like...
Yeah. So...
Any exorcism, anybody out there, got some, want to tell us, you got any first-hand knowledge of... Feel free. No, I don't. I don't think I want to hear.
No,
that,
so
you know what I mean. Many of our listeners are like, "Oh, well, I have my experience." And
so
it's
that's
like,
funny. Remind me of that in the end, okay?
Remind you at the end to ask our listeners if they have any. Okay.
Yes. Okay. So
again, I'm not sure I want to hear it.
Okay.
All right. Moving on. Sorry.
Like I said, this was super rough, not only on Roland but also the priest. Like, Adam made a point. They're probably at this point questioning their own faith. They have endured punches, scratches. Halloran had his nose broken by Roland. There are 3 men that are holding him down during these exorcisms, and they were struggling to restrain this weakened 13-year-old. So at that point, it's like, okay, was this adrenaline or was there something else giving him strength? The mental toll was also super.
Yeah, you're saying this is happening at night. He's not sleeping. If he's doing active normal stuff during the day, like sleep is very important. Let's just say that, right?
So at this point, he's admitted to the hospital. Yeah. I think probably at this point he's maybe resting during the day, but I don't know. So he's going through something, and regardless of what that something is, it's taking a toll on him, the priest, his family. Like, everybody is affected by what's going on right now.
Yeah.
The mental toll on the priest was absolutely overwhelming. They're fighting what, they believe to be evil on a daily basis and battling for a young man's soul. That's a lot of pressure, especially while trying to keep your own faith. So I saw, again, there are so many varying reports on what happened, but Roland was eventually released from the hospital and sent back to his family's home.
Cured?
Well, he seemed normal for about a week, with no signs of possession.
Okay.
This gave his family hope that he had finally been freed, but again, no such luck. He starts showing, all the same signs, symptoms, and the priest then suggests that Roland be baptized as a Catholic and take Holy Communion.
Okay.
So remember, he was raised Lutheran, and his parents, desperate at this point and willing to try anything, agreed. Whatever was possessing Roland wasn't super stoked at the idea of this, however, because on the way to the church, he goes into an episode and attempts to grab the steering wheel.
This is during the day, probably now.
This is during the day to crash the car. So his uncle, who was driving the car at the time, pulls over since he's now terrified that Roland would cause a crash.
Yeah.
They do eventually get Roland to the church and pretty much drag him inside.
Yeah.
They attempt to perform the baptism for 2 hours, and they tell Roland to renounce Satan, but they are unable to complete the baptism. They couldn't get him to do the baptism, and they couldn't get him to take Holy Communion.
Say the words, couldn't get him to eat, couldn't get him to... I'm trying to remember. I'm a Baptist, so we dunk you underwater. I don't know if Catholics do that. I think it's like I say, like a sprinkling of holy water.
I'm not sure.
They normally do it for either babies, you know what I mean? It's a little...
Yeah.
Can I just say...
What's up?
Sorry. Cut you off. Worst conversion therapy ever. You know what would really save you? We've gone through these months and months of trouble. If you just became Catholic.
Just become Catholic.
Just become Catholic.
Yep.
It sounds so...
Yes.
It sounds so... I guess, I'm sorry, it's like farcical. Yeah. At this point.
So the timeline gets a little wonky here. There are varying reports of what actually happened. I've seen a few reports state that Bowdern recommended that the family go back home and he would accompany them back to Maryland so he could find a hospital or a church or some help for this kid so they could continue the exorcisms. Because you have to remember, at this point, this had been going on for weeks, and he was losing weight. His mental health was not in a good place. Obviously, He was exhausted.
Yeah.
And he was becoming super withdrawn.
Yeah.
So, but I've also seen reports that don't mention this at all, that they went back home. So I'm going to go with it. At this point, Roland is back at the Alexian Brothers Hospital, and he is undergoing daily exorcisms. His episodes are getting increasingly violent, with priests honestly feeling like they are fighting for Roland's life at this point. He is taunting the priest, using extremely foul language, making disgusting comments, sexual remarks, and gestures. At one point, he imitated masturbation, like
this.
I don't know.
I'm sorry, that's one of my favorite gestures of all time.
I know, I use it a lot.
So foul, so foul. How dare he simulate masturbation?
So it is bad. It's...
Yeah.
There's no help. It's getting worse and worse. There also was reports that he had begun asking for paper and pen because he was writing things down. Honestly, it felt like when I was reading that, it felt like he was a scribe for whatever was controlling him.
Okay.
If there was something controlling him.
It's more like a hostage.
Yeah.
Again, this is where I'm skeptical, and I'm worried he's being sheltered away by these priests and trying to get messages out to people who could actually help him.
Yeah.
That's right. That's where my thoughts go. Mm-hmm. But, okay.
So he wrote things like, I will be gone in 10 days, but return after the 4 days are up. I am the devil himself, and you may not believe me, then Roland will suffer forever. These are all direct lines from the supposed diary that was found.
Okay. So he's trying to claim he's Lucifer? Bullshit.
I don't know.
I'm just like, Lucifer got more on his plate than little 13-year-old Roland.
I mean, maybe there's something special about him. I don't know.
I guess that's where.
So, like I said...
I don't believe her. I'm a non-believer.
So, like I said, you know, it wasn't 24/7 that he was like this. One day, while Roland was seemingly lucid... I almost said Detective Halloran. Detective Halloran.
Patches of Houlihan.
You can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. Isn't that
dodge a wrench, you can dodge a demon.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
So Halloran decides to take Roland out for a walk around the hospital.
Yeah.
You know, he's seemingly lucid, so fresh air would probably do him some good. Now, if I had seen what these guys had seen and remembered that it took 3 men who could barely hold Roland down, I don't think I would have taken him out by myself. But that's just me.
Yeah. I mean, if he's lucid, I guess I see.
Yeah, but it sounds like it could change really quickly.
True story.
You know?
Demons lulling him into a false sense of security.
That's exactly what happened, because when they were out strolling, reportedly Roland fell into a trance and bolted towards a cliff.
Okay.
And Halloran had to chase him down and tackle him to get him to stop, because he was literally going to jump off this cliff.
Okay. Now, what do you... Sorry, is there more details?
So after that happens, he snaps back out of it and has no idea of what had happened previously. So it was a very quick break, it sounds like.
Yeah, see, that seems weird to me. So was that Roland or was that the demon? Like, it doesn't, I guess, like, you're making it sound like if he was in a trance state, it's while he's possessed. Mm-hmm. So the demon's like, oh no, they about to get me out of here.
Yep.
I'm going to make a break for it myself.
I'm going to take us all out.
Yeah, and then it's like, I guess that feels more like a Roland act.
Maybe Roland's just really tired of all of this, and he's like, I'm out.
Well, yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying, is like, Roland's done. You've done all this stuff, nothing's getting better. Like, I feel like suicide is probably a very common thing in some of this stuff.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I just don't... So for them to be like, oh no, that was the demon made a run for it. It's like, okay, because yeah, you guys are real scary. Purging that demon over those months and months and months, you know what I mean? Like, do you see what I mean though?
Yes, no, I see what you mean.
Okay.
Any demons that may be listening, we are not provoking you or anything like that. Please don't come at me.
Yeah.
Or him.
Yeah.
But no, I do see what you're saying. And to me, that one seems a little sus. Like, he was fine, he bolted, and then he was out of it again. I do agree with you on that.
Yeah. Sounds like the trance states are fake or made up. You know, that like faked a little bit. I guess
in their mind, they didn't want to have a suicide on their hands, so they're like, oh, he definitely fell into a trance. Like, that's what happened.
Right? Mm-hmm. Let's make up a story, y'all. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Corroborated by one person and one person only. Like
a Catholic priest.
Well, yeah, and we believe them. They're
not dishonest about anything.
I'm saying normally
especially
we
when being alone with a young boy, never a lie there.
Yeah, I'm saying normally I think even in the 50s, I think people tend to trust their Catholic priests.
Absolutely,
you know what I mean?
I agree. Yes.
Like there's a reason all the cover-ups and all that stuff have
been so
took so
rampant.
Long. Well, yeah, like so rampant and took so long to get out there because it was like I think they tended to believe that I can't believe that person would do that.
A man of the cloth.
Yeah.
And now we know it happened a lot.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Quite a lot.
Yeah. So we're now into like April of 1949. So this all started in January of 1949.
I was gonna say you're gonna need to remind me when it started. I know we've been talking about months, not years. So
yes, so January of 49 is when the first signs started happening, right?
Okay.
He hasn't been exorcised since January, but it's been happening for a while. Like, he has been tormented by whatever it is for quite a while. And that definitely has worn on all of the people involved. And since we've talked a lot about what happened during these exorcisms, I'm not going to go over every single one because that's just boring. I mean, we know what happened. Everything became increasingly disturbing. You know, nothing was seemingly getting better at this point.
Okay.
So we're now in mid-April, and it's the Monday after Easter. So Roland had been under a spell for parts of the day, cursing, flailing, fighting every attempt the priest made. Around 10:45, there's progress, and the following is a direct quote from the alleged diary that was found.
Okay.
T. 10:45 p.m., the most striking event of the evening occurred. R was in a seizure but lay calm. In clear, commanding tones and with dignity, a voice broke into the prayers. The following is an accurate quotation. Satan, Satan, I am Saint Michael, and I command you, Satan, and the other evil spirits to leave the body in the name of Dominus. Satan, Satan, I am Saint Michael, and I command you, Satan, and the other evil spirits to leave the body in the name of Dominus immediately. Now, now, now. So after saying this, Roland begins to contort violently, but after a few minutes, he calms down and he says he's gone. Roland pretty much immediately returned to normal and tells the priest that he had a vision. So this, I'm actually, because it's a very descriptive vision, I'm going to actually just read what was detailed in the diary.
Yeah.
So Roland said, quote, he said there was a brilliant white light, and in the light stood a very beautiful man with flowing, waving hair that blew in the breeze. He wore a white robe that fitted close to his body. The material gave the impression of scales. Only the upper half of the body of this man was visible to R. In his right hand, he held up a wavy and fiery sword in front of him. With his left hand, he pointed down to a pit or cave. R said he saw the devil standing in the cave. R felt the heat from the cave and saw the flames. First, the devil fought, resisting the angel and laughing diabolically. Then the angel smiled at R and spoke, but R heard only one word, Dominus. As the angel spoke, the devil and about 10 of his helpers ran back to the fire of the cave or pit. So that is what that is what Roland claimed he saw when he shouted the name Dominus, which the word that he supposedly would never say, but he did say that would drive Satan out. Like earlier, I think we talked about, the one word that he wouldn't say is Dominus. I don't know what that means, and I actually didn't look it up.
What?
I don't.
It seems so important. How could you not?
I mean, that's a fair question. I'm gonna go ahead and give that one to you.
Yeah.
So
just on behalf of all listeners.
What the fuck, bitch? So here we go.
Okay. Quick Google again.
Dominus is the Latin word for master or owner.
Okay.
Dominus saw use as a Roman imperial title. It was also the Latin title of the feudal, superior, and mesne lords, an ecclesiastical and academic title.
Okay.
So, I'm not sure why that word was the one that was his safe word or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a little weird. I mean, I guess is it the demon's master, which implies God? I mean, that's
maybe
what I'm thinking.
Yeah. So,
but
at that point, that's where the exorcism ends. After the final battle, Roland never reported any other issues and went on to lead a very normal, successful life. His family converted to Catholicism, and they pretty much led a quiet life. While his identity was a secret his entire life, eventually was reported on who Roland Doe was, or at least who they assumed he was.
Okay.
Many things say that Roland got married, had kids, and even named his first son Michael after Saint Michael, who is credited for saving Roland. Although that could be just a coincidence, because quite a few articles stated Roland had no memories of what happened during the exorcism.
Okay. Totally have a question about that as well.
What's up?
Saint Michael. Mm-hmm. I don't know much about saints. Okay, saints is still like kind of like a Catholic type thing.
Okay.
Right. Mm-hmm. But I'm pretty sure Michael is.
Isn't he the archangel?
An angel, yeah, like archangel.
Yeah.
So it's a little weird that they call him Saint Michael.
Maybe it's a different Michael.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. No, actually, it's like I'm thinking it is Michael because like the flaming sword thing seems very like I'm pretty sure Michael is supposed to be like the warrior angel, like, you know, God's right hand next to Lucifer, I feel like. You've probably heard of Gabriel, the angel Gabriel. That's like a thing too.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I'm pretty sure I've always understood Michael as like the warrior angel. Like, so having a flaming sword makes sense. Saint Michael, again, no idea. This more sounds like an angelic, like the angel Michael pointing at, like casting the demon down.
Was it Bad Omens? Was that the show where he gave him the flaming sword? Like he gave Eve the sword for protection when they got kicked out of the garden?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm like, God, what was that show? I remember.
Yeah.
I was like, what was that? Yes.
Yeah.
Isn't he Michael in the show?
No, he doesn't play Michael.
Oh.
He's what is it? I was gonna say Aziraphale, but I think that's David Tennant's character.
Cassius? Cassius is from
Little
Nicky that we watched last night.
Cassius is from Little Nicky, yes.
Never mind.
Yeah.
But anyways, okay. So
yeah.
I actually really wanted to tell you this part because so, Roland apparently never has any more issues. He actually either worked at NASA or for NASA as an engineer and is credited with creating a few patents that were used for shuttles on the Apollo mission or the Apollo program.
Okay.
Yeah.
Weird.
How
did they make that connection there?
So they did, right in the beginning, we did say that he was like,
smart.
He was smart, probably not challenged in school.
Yeah.
Which would make sense if he's, a NASA.
You were trying to say an astronaut, but also a NASA. It sounds like he's not an astronaut.
I'm going to start calling you an assa when you're being a smart ass. You assa. Yeah, so he, obviously he was successful in his life, and it's just really weird. So,
it's like a fairy tale ending. Like 4 months of hell?
Okay,
Exorcism done?
Yeah. So,
go about a normal life? I mean, it's...
But it wasn't. Like, it was, but it wasn't. So, a lot of in the research and the things that I saw, he was very scared that people were going to find out that he was Roland Doe.
Okay.
Like, he did not want his fellow engineers at NASA to know that he was a kid that had been exorcised when he was 13, because science doesn't really support demonic possession.
Right. Yeah.
And I do feel bad because even though he had been freed from whatever was causing all these issues, he still had to deal with the consequences because he was terrified of being found out. I don't know if that was embarrassment or shame or whatever, but I don't think he ever got out from under that dark cloud that kind of always hung around,
Yeah. Maybe, feel like working at NASA's pretty top end for engineering and stuff,
Yeah.
Maybe it pushed him, drove more excellence,
Yeah. He always felt he had to.
Yeah, you want to be known for something else.
Right. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
I saw, and this, I'm just going to say this because we are in spooky season and that's why we're talking about this case, but I saw, there was an article where like somebody, it was a 29-year-old companion. I'm assuming it was a caregiver of his in his later life when he was like in his 80s.
Okay.
They would always leave the house on Halloween because he was afraid somebody was going to like come to the door and know who he was and expose him. Which is super sad because Halloween's awesome.
Yeah. So he would just turn off all his lights, not give out any candy whatsoever?
Like, they would leave the house. They wouldn't be at home.
They wouldn't be at home. Okay.
Which, maybe
it's
they also... Yeah,
yeah.
But, you know, if you went through that, you're probably not celebrating Halloween because, you know, there are a lot of people that tie Halloween to the devil.
Yeah.
Even though it's a...
Like spooky
harvest festival celebration, basically, but...
Yeah.
Won't get into that right now because we don't have time for that.
I'm pretty sure Catholics like All Hallows Eve, like, I mean, at the very least, Latin America culture, right? Like,
and
Dia de los Muertos. Yeah, Dia de los Muertos and all that. Like, that's very, and like, I want to say most Latin countries, like, the predominant religion is Catholicism, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like he was pretty, like, one thought I had was maybe being possessed just means you're forever marked one way or another, right? Like, yes, the demon's gone, but you still are dealing with the repercussions, like all those, the rest of your life, basically. And I feel like if it were me, I would always be so scared that it would come back.
Yeah.
Like any weird occurrence, like, oh my God, am I going to be possessed again? You know?
Right.
So,
I almost wonder if, like you said, if he doesn't remember anything, or, you know, especially like the actual like night that the demons left, like, you know, I wonder how much of that is just repressed. You know what I mean? Like,
fair.
Yeah.
So,
it's pretty terrible.
I'm curious to get your thoughts, but I want to spitball on my own for a little bit here.
Okay. Yeah. Lay it on me.
So, you know I believe in stuff like this. You also believe in demonic possession, like, because that's something that we grew up with. I go back and forth on this one. Like, I'm half and half, I swear, because, like, a lot of the things people can jump on a bandwagon and be like, oh, yeah, no, I saw that too. Like, I totally saw that too, right?
Yeah.
But if this were something like a mental illness that happened, the fact that he never had any other type of episode.
Yeah.
Especially, like, it doesn't sound like, you know, psychiatrists or psychologists found anything wrong with him, so I'm going to assume he wasn't on any type of, like, antipsychotic medications or any type of, like, mental health medications, right? And for him to go through all of that, or maybe they just didn't talk about it.
Well,
like, if he was on some type of medicine.
Well, no, I almost wonder, like, because of the whole secrecy thing, like, it's not something you're going to go to your therapist and talk about. Be like, oh, yeah, like, you know, those 4 months of exorcism really drained me. You know, it's, like, not... Like, I honestly wonder how much he actually, like, saw mental health professionals after the fact, or whether it's just like, oh, it's done now, okay, I'm fine. I just worry that A, people will find out, or B, like, it'll happen again.
Right.
You know?
But I'm more speaking to the point of, like, if he had a psychotic break or whatever it was that severe and then never experienced another episode like that, for me, it's hard to believe that if something was that severe that was inside of you, like, if you had that, you know, if there's something that's causing that, it's not going to just go away after, you know, one bout of whatever it was. Do you know what I mean? Like,
no, totally know what you mean.
So it also, that kind of makes me think, like, maybe there was something else going on. I don't think it was like a mental thing at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts?
You know, the whole secrecy stuff, not the biggest fan.
No.
You know, so, like...
Be transparent, bitch.
Yeah, so it's like, you know what I mean? Like, it... So I'll throw out this, in my mind, a plausible theory, right?
Okay, let's hear it. Hit me.
Lots of...
Hit me, daddy.
No.
Fine.
Let's say it's faked, story, family's in on it for whatever reason, priests get in on it. You know what I mean? Like, all these people do touch on it. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, nobody's making money, in my mind.
That I was just
right?
going to say.
So it's like, why... I guess there's questions about why you would fake such a thing. Mm-hmm. But then what I mean is, like, it could end abruptly because if it were fake.
Right.
Right? If it's fake, it could end abruptly and you have no other problems other than worrying that people might find out that this is you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's the most likely...
Yeah.
Reasonable, non-accepting of the demon and exorcism, explanation.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's a little... But then it's like, I don't know, I feel like it touches on so many people, you know? But the secrecy stuff doesn't help.
No.
You know?
I was going to say, that was another thing that struck me, like, it wasn't like that they told their story and were trying to, like, make money off of it.
Yeah.
I think that probably when the book came out, Roland was probably, like, shitting his pants. Like, oh, my God, what if people start digging? What if they find out this is about me?
Yeah.
Because it sounds like the author, William Peter Blatty, was pretty open about why or where he had gotten the inspiration for this book.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think I said in the beginning he saw it in a Washington Post. I did see some other places that said that William Peter Blatty was actually a student at St. Louis University where a lot of this took place. Like the Alexian Brother Hospital is, I think, part of St. Louis University. It's like a teaching hospital. Okay. Not 100% sure. I had a hard time kind of getting information because it was actually torn down in the 70s, I want to say.
Okay.
They did, of course, you know how... spooky tales always generate whatever. But it said that they actually, like, closed off the ward that he was in, the psychiatric ward. And there were reports that there was, like, cracked linoleum that they could never get fixed under the bed that Roland was in. And there was a dark stain on the wall that they could, like, never get painted over, basically.
Yeah.
That kind of screams black mold to me, or a bad foundation.
Well, I mean, it's like Stranger Things, right?
Right.
It's like Stranger Things. It's
upside
like
down.
the upside down, the crack is like still there.
Yep.
You repair, but it's still. Yeah, it's.
But yeah, so back to my point that I went off on a tangent.
That could just be a spooky story again.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like it's.
Yeah, and I mean, I'd have to think like, however many years later, like people are not going to know for sure. Like, oh, that was the bed he was in for sure. That's why that stain and that crack are there.
Yeah.
But yeah, this isn't like the Amityville Horror. They didn't come up with this to try to make money off of it, like write a book, get a movie. He wasn't involved in the book at all. It doesn't sound like. I mean, this was like 20 years later that he wrote the book.
Yeah. Question for you.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but in the book, is the possessed person a boy or a girl? Because in the movie, it's a girl.
Ooh,
not
that is
a boy.
A good question.
So I wonder when the guy wrote the book, was it?
I think in the book it's actually written as a girl.
Okay.
Let's look it up.
Yeah.
So in the book, it is actually a girl. He writes it as 11-year-old Reagan McNeil, the daughter of a famous actress.
Okay.
So he did change it.
So that's one way. Yeah. So yeah, I wondered if it was Hollywood that changed it or if it was the author.
Yeah.
It sounds like the author. Which could be a way to protect the people involved, like you said. Took some embellishments. Now, that guy was making money off of it. He sold the book.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And William Peter Blatty, he made the screenplay, and he was part of a movie that terrified people for years.
Yeah.
Myself included.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, do you have any more thoughts?
Yeah, so stuff like this.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. What about the life of the author? Any crazy, spooky stuff happen after he wrote the book? Any stuff related to the movie, like actors, directors?
So, no crazy stuff that I've heard about the book.
Okay.
Like the author of the book.
Okay.
But there are rumors that the movie, The Exorcist itself, was cursed.
Okay.
I don't want to get too into it because I actually cursed movies is one of the future episode topics.
Okay.
But
so teaser for a future episode.
Yes, they did. I mean, a lot of people on the cast and crew said that movie was cursed.
Yeah.
Along with like Poltergeist, they said that movie was cursed.
Yeah.
Which
Poltergeist freaks me out. I got shivers.
The clown.
No, it's like the TV.
Sucking up the kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't there like a face or like a hand comes out of the TV or something, I think?
Gosh, it's been a while since
it's like
I
that
watched.
Static.
It's that TV static, yeah, that used to happen. For people that don't,
yeah.
For younger listeners, back in the day, if like a TV program went off and you didn't.
Well, it was like channels. It was just channels.
Yeah,
like,
channels would go
Channels
off
were not 24/7.
Yeah,
they
not
were
like they are now.
Yeah, you wouldn't have an infomercial from like 1 a.m. to like 6 a.m. It would just be static or the bars thing.
Yeah, it was like the gray like.
Yeah.
Yeah, that movie is also very supposedly cursed.
Yeah. It's like, oh man, I fell asleep watching Lost one time, DVD set.
Yeah.
And like, fell asleep. It finished out the disc, and then it went to, like, DVDs go to the menu, and, like, the menu had, like, smoke monster sounds, like, in the woods and stuff, and I woke up to, like, freaky sounds, and was like, well, and I wasn't, God, I don't even think I was at my house. I was, like, at somebody else's house, and had fallen asleep, like, on their couch.
Uh-huh.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that was... I watched that one,
like... creepy little kid voice, right?
They're here.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know... I don't want to go too much into it.
Okay.
But
because we're going to talk about Poltergeist and
we're going to talk about cursed movie sets at some point.
Okay.
But the girl, Heather O'Rourke, who played the little girl
in Poltergeist.
Yes.
Okay.
She ended up dying, like from a very weird medical condition that like kind of seemingly popped up out of nowhere. If I remember correctly.
Okay.
I do know she died very young, and it was very, very unfortunate. But that one also has a lot of, like, weird happenings that surround the production of that movie, so.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, what are you leaning more towards, fact or crap?
Oh, that's tough. That's, I probably shouldn't answer while I'm, like, squirming and moving around, but it's like, yeah, it's kind of uncomfortable, right?
Yeah. That's what the thing that drew me to this case.
It could be either.
It could be either, right? Like,
either.
Sometimes I hit my mic. Sometimes I go one way and sometimes I go another, and it's like, God, what really happened? It's a crazy case, do I think? Right?
Yeah, like, crazy case. I could go either way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is one of those like. Some of the things lean one way. Some of the other ones. You know, to be fair, a lot of the leaning the other way.
Sorry.
For what?
For what? Sorry. You've said it so many times that I've been so good not to be like, to be fair.
Okay.
I have also said it, to be fair.
Yeah. Still trying to reset.
Okay, sorry. My bad.
You weren't picking up my okay.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Yeah. Scene. So, I feel like the anti-arguments is just skepticism. Mm-hmm. And like, you know what I mean? Like, disbelief.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I mean, we already had the months thing still kills me. I'm sorry.
You are very... But honestly, like, I saw some articles that said that even, like, the... one of the Catholic websites I looked at said that it can take years. Which I agree with you is so crazy that it would take that long.
Yeah.
I mean...
It's like assign somebody else. Like, come up with a plan, you know? Like...
I want to see your manager.
Yeah. Yeah. Where's Demon Karen?
Yeah. I think the demon is the Karen.
Right? Well, no, because then she'd bubble it up. The Demon Karen would bubble it up.
That's why she ain't leaving. She's just bubbling
Well, that's why she ain't leaving,
yeah.
But she'd ask for the manager, and you'd see more turnover.
That's fair.
Give me the Pope!
I'm not dealing with you anymore. Get me your boss.
Right? Man, it's... I mean, it is a little weird, right? Like, I guess I had always understood. It really sounds like they just threw these priests into it. Like, I don't really want to do this. We're tapping you. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, and it's this weird, like, you do what we say, and it's like, without us taking in your input, like, it seems, bad plan. Bad plan.
I feel like you're setting him up for failure at that point.
Yeah. You're setting up these people, like, I would love to hear about, like, how these priests, what happened to them afterwards, you know? Like, are they, like, did they just go back to their normal stuff and be like, yeah, nothing really happened, you know?
So...
I left for a little while. Like, you know, it's like, I'm sorry, but this is totally, like, how often would you hear about, like, oh, yeah, they had to go visit their family for months, you know? Like, with young girls, you would associate it with pregnancy. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, I'm just
fair,
wondering.
Especially
weird,
in the 50s, or, 49. So, you brought up a point,
and this was a way to hide, like, we don't want this guy to be at this place, so we're going to send him, you know what I mean? Yeah, sorry.
That's a good point, too.
Yeah.
Like, maybe there was some, which I feel like sending him to a young boy is probably not the best plan if there's something going on, but that's just me again. So you actually brought up a good point. So in the actual movie, The Exorcist, at the end, you said the guy jumps out the window.
I thought that's how it ends.
I think you're right.
I thought it's like he jumps out the window and he like rolls down some stairs, like or he like jumps out the window and then he like falls down some stairs.
I think you're right.
I think that's how it ends, and then it's this weird like. I swear it's like he's like dying, and then there's like a kid watching him. I can't quite remember again.
It's probably Damien from The Omen watching, like, yeah.
Right.
But anyway, so the Shock documentary that I watched actually implied that one of the priests that was associated, I don't think it was one of the main ones.
Because there were 9.
There were several, yeah. They said that there was a priest that after this happened who went into like a psychiatric ward, because they say that basically he gave his life for Damien's for Roland, and he died like possessed because he took the demon for Roland.
See, but that's not what the story is. The story is that Michael put the demons back and sent them back to hell.
I agree.
Right.
I'm just saying that was something that like that wasn't ever like written in the diary. I think that was maybe just folklore that generates from stories like this.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because sometimes priests do not, like, I know people that were very godly and towards the end of their life they became dirty old men.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what it was. I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah. So that is the story of Roland Doe, the exorcism that inspired the Exorcist book and movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They definitely shortened it.
Please make sure that you like, follow, subscribe on whatever platform you're using. Give us a 5-star review, a 5-star rating. All of it helps bring more visibility to new podcasts. And don't forget to check out our socials. We have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Creepy Cascadia Pod. We also have a TikTok, Creepy Cascadia Podcast, along with our website, creepycascadiapod.com. There you can check out information about our episodes. We have information about us. If you're curious like me and want to see a face to the name, which I always do when I listen to a new podcast, feel free to go on there and check it out. If you have questions, compliments, concerns, just want to chat, you can reach out to us on our socials, or you can shoot us an email. The address is admin@creepycascadiapod.com. We would love to hear from you guys. So thank you again for listening. We will see you next week.